piece I wrote this week actually is what's the real mindset of history makers? And so I started thinking, well, what does Jay-Z and Gandhi and Thomas Edison have in common? You know, what does Steve Jobs and Henry Ford and Da Vinci share? And I started thinking about the core traits. Obviously, these are people in different times and different fields. And I started thinking, what do people who make history really do differently than those who don't? They're not always the smartest. They didn't come from the fanciest backgrounds. So all that stuff is off the table. And even natural talent. In many cases, that was not the difference maker. There were people who were better musicians than Beethoven, technically, but Beethoven obviously became Beethoven. Anyway, I discovered two things, these two characteristics of those that make history. Number one is that they are perennially dissatisfied. And this is not for everyone, by the way, but it's almost like this sense of urgency, and you're almost never comfortable. It's always craving something new, always wanting to push. And not that you shouldn't enjoy your successes and slap high five and celebrate the moment, for sure you should. But the history makers, while they're slapping high five, are thinking about, okay, what's my next challenge? What's the next mountain that I can climb? And they don't necessarily do it for selfish reasons to, drape themselves with gold. It's more about how can they make a bigger impact? How can they continue to make history? How can they challenge themselves to reach their full potential? The second element of world class, really, are, in addition to having this being constantly dissatisfied, it's owning the outcome. They never play the victim role. They don't complain about the resources they lack. Instead, they double down and figure it out. And that takes a real scrappiness often, but they really take ownership. They never, if there's a setback, they don't say, oh, well, it was this person's fault or that person, I didn't have this going on. They totally own the outcomes. And as a result, they don't wait for someone else to get there. They don't ask permission. They take it upon themselves to not only dream big, but to deliver, to execute against that dream.